yeah, we're getting back to some semblance of normalcy, and that's definitely a nice relief. So yeah, this week I'm gonna try to give you guys some insight as much as possible as to some of the things you guys will experience if you ever do this job professionally. So recently I had to take an art test, and I wanted to kind of give you guys a basic rundown of what an art test is, what it will it would entail, and how to best complete it and approach it so that you can give yourself the best chance for that job or whatever it is you're going for. All right, so art tests really come in many shapes and forms in different sizes. So depending on the job you're going for, is the kind of art test you're gonna get. So for this job that I was going for, this contract or this bid or whatever, they wanted to see a certain level of proficiency, and they gave me two tasks. So I had two models that I had to complete in 4 to 5 days. Is the target, is like the deadline, and the interview process, or the talking process includes, they'll ask, are you comfortable taking a test? Are you are you saying yes to us giving you the test? Because I think that's, they legally have to ask before they test you or something like that. So you'll say yes. I don't think they said that you're not going to say no to an art test if that's part of, you know if you know that that's part of the hiring process. You can say no, and you can say, hey, just look at my work, and my work says, that's up to you. But generally you want to take the art test if somebody's saying, hey, do you want to take this art test? So you go, yes, I want to take the art test, and then they give you usually it's a document. And the document usually has a set of instructions for you. And I'm not going to share the one they gave me, but I will make a sample document for you guys to look at. So it usually has at the first top of it, you're going to see what they call a scope. And that is essentially, it's going to give you a description of what the project or what you're supposed to do is. So that's what the scope is. That's the first overall paragraph. We want you to model this site plan, and we want you to model this asset, blah, 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 doing so it's like an overall kind of description of what you're going to see in your final. And then they'll give you what they call deliverables. So the first deliverable may be, I need an FBX, right? So let me open up mine right quick just so I can give you a real world experience. And the idea of this is so that the thing is, since I'm still in the industry, the information that you guys are going to be getting from me is real time. This is what people are asking for. This is what people are currently looking for in the industry. This isn't something I'm learning 10 years ago and I'm trying to bestow this knowledge on you. This is stuff that this is what people are asking for right now. This is what they're sending me, and I'm going to try to give you guys a quick rundown on that. So let me open up the file for you. All right. So, and my general process is whenever I get these things, I always start a new project folder for that client, right? If I have a new client, if I accept this person as my client, I make them a new folder that all of their work, no matter when they come back to me, if I work with them this year and they want to come back to me next year or 4 years from now, I'm still going to work in that same folder that is just theirs. This is for them alone in my computer somewhere, so that anything I ever need for that project, I know it's in one location. Trust me, guys, that'll also save you a ton of time. So let's open up the requirements for this. Okay, I'm gonna open it in my Google Drive, and then white out some stuff so that I can show you guys a real world example of what this art test would look like. done formatting this. I'm getting their name and stuff out of here so that you guys don't have that. All right. So okay. So this is based on a real real actual art test I just recently got. So you guys are learning from me firsthand. This is what you guys would get. All right. So the description, they're saying in your box folder. So they sent me a link and they said, hey, in this folder there are 2 aerial images and an image of a prop. One of the aerial images will have a highlighted area of focus indicating where we want you to model all the existing site context. We have also provided a clean one for you to use as reference in your modeling software of choice. The prop image will be of an item we would like you to model for implementation into Unreal Engine for virtual reality. All right. So the idea there is that you want to kind of read this and reread it a few times just so you kind of understand the scope of what they're asking you to do, right? I told you there's always a scope, right? This is the scope. They've given me a timeline, okay? So they want it by Tuesday, 5 p.m., right? This is, this isn't the accurate, this isn't the real day it happened, but, you guys are getting, this is the idea of it. So the first deliverable they want, so this is what they want from me. An FBX of a model containing the designated site, the sidewalks, the curbs, etc. So everything that I'm going to make for it, every single thing. So what they sent me, right? What they sent me is, these are the 2 aerials they sent me right here. So they sent me this one, right? They sent me this overboard. This is literally what they sent me. I'm giving you guys, they're not going to help you out. They're not going to say, here's all the references. Here's where here's every single, no. You're a professional. This is what you do. Go and find it. Go and source it yourself. That is your job, right? I'm not holding your hand. I'm hiring. I'm paying you dollars for this. I'm going to pay you money for this. So I need you to get this done. I need you to be resourceful. I need you to know how to Google something, right? Like little things like that. I know it sounds very simple. It sounds like the easiest things, but trust me, how often students don't do just simple research to find out what they need and how they need to get it done. So they gave me these 2 images. I mean, let's try to zoom in to see how much information I got. So this is how much information I have of the site, right? So the rest of it they leave up to me. And then they also sent a prop. So this is the prop, and this is the size of the image they sent me. They said, go find it, go source it online, find all the other angles to it, and then bring that back to us, and then so we can implement it inside of virtual reality. So they're giving me 2 prompts. This is based on the kind of work that the company does. They do virtual reality projects, and they do site plans and environmental stuff like that. So those are the kind of projects that they get, and they're gonna give you a real world example of what you would expect on the job, right? If you were gonna work on Borderlands or a video game like Warzone or Call of Duty, Call of Duty Warzone or something like that, they would give you an actual asset, a day-to-day thing that you would do on that project, and they would expect you to execute it in the time that their artists would execute that exact same task. Right? That's what they're looking for. They're looking for how proficient you are at doing it, right? They're looking for your presentation. They're looking for how well you name your stuff. Is everything box 01, box 002, camera 003.5, is it that, or do you actually have names for it, right? Things like that are very, very important when you're taking this test, because you want to show that I fit right into your pipeline. Whatever your pipeline is, right? I fit right into it. I'm not going to mess up. I'm not going to throw a monkey wrench into whatever you have going. I'm just going to come in and I am going to be able to work for you and be able to, complete these deadlines. So another thing they said is for the deliverable is, so they said objects like cars and foliage are not required. That's because I think the program that they use, I don't even use the programs they use in the company. So that's another thing that I'm going to address a little later on is things like that is I try to teach you guys not just software. I try to teach you guys modeling techniques so that no matter where you go, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're in Lumion or Modo or Blender or whatever you are. Those same modeling principles will apply there. You just need to find the tool that does that wherever you are. So that's another thing is they're saying, okay, you can use whatever software you have, but they have a different internal software. So I use 3ds Max to complete this, and I don't have a copy of Modo anyway. So it says you'll need to use the aerial image provided in combination with Google Maps Street View to create the models of the buildings that are as recognizable as possible with the available information. There should also be proper material assignments to the best of your ability, but you do not need to UV or texture any of these models. Any of these models. All right. Fix this grammar. I know, I'm sorry guys. It's hard to see it without fixing it. All right. You will need to use proper time management to complete as much of the site modeling as possible within the designated time frame, right? So they're giving you 4 or 5 days. We want you to complete as much of the site plan as possible. And then the second deliverable is FBX and a PNG of a high quality 3D prop asset. Also included is a .tga file for any textures you use or create. Models should be detailed, but also as optimized and as low poly as possible while still retaining shape. Proper UVs and light map UVs should be created on this model. Textures should be tileable and seamless, so you also need to import your model into Unreal and save out a 1920 by 1080 PNG of your finished asset. Feel free to include any other breakdown images you would like in order to show material node setup, material instance options. Important notes, use your best judgment and any additional reference you can find to model all assets to an appropriate scale. For the site asset, make sure your units are set to meters for your export. For the prop asset, make sure your work is export in centimeters. The site address is blah, blah, blah. They give you the site address and then they give you a link for where the prop is. And they go, ask us any questions if you need to during this time. And I think it's important. So there's some things I want to go over, right? You have to figure out where all the requirements are and make sure that you're hitting all of those requirements as you're going along. So make sure that you have your sidewalks. Make sure that you've got, if they need UVs, you're UVing them. If they don't need UVs, you're not UVing them. What I would suggest is make yourself a little checklist and, Google Drive or something. Make yourself a little checklist that you can go through and then, okay, I've done this. This part of the deliverables done, this part of the, and I do that on whenever I have a big contract or something like that. So I make sure that I'm hitting all of my clients deliver everything they say they wanted. I made sure, boom, boom, boom. I'm like Chick-fil-A with that. Making sure, boom, you said you wanted this, you said you wanted this, you said you wanted this. And then I double check at the end to make sure all of those things are hit. And, either I hit the bar and then exceed whatever they expect, in some fashion, right? One part of it is doing all the requirements. And sometimes I like to go, if I have a little extra time, I like to go a little above just to show, hey, I can really be a workhorse. I can really be, somebody who's valuable in how I can really quickly model, or really, whatever your best thing is. If you're really good at texturing, this is your time to do some really awesome texturing. If you're really good at lighting, this is the time when you shine with your lighting, right? Whatever your specialty is, whatever your thing is, right? There's a time for it to shine, because you're going to be decent at all of the aspects of it, right? The important part is shining. Okay, if you're like really good at lighting, hey, now I've got a little extra time on the project. Let me light it to the best of my ability. Let me texture it to the best of my ability. Let me shine, so that your project really comes out really nice. So you guys know the process already. Everything I'm showing you in this class is pretty much how I went about the entire process. I'll show you the final asset inside of Unreal, so that you guys know kind of what they got for this prop. So I'll start with the prop just because it's a little easier to show you guys. So that's what the prop looked like finally. This is kind of an image of what I sent them. So let me see if I can find the reference. So here is our reference, and here is our final. You guys think it's pretty close? So this is it inside of Unreal, and let's see. Yeah, and then I exported all the textures. Substance Painter. Let me open up my Substance. So here's my Substance file. Here's where I did all my texturing. So I did all my texturing inside of Substance Painter. You guys know the drill about that. And then put it back together inside of 3ds Max. Just modeled everything. All right, once you guys start to understand that it's just basic polygons, none of this stuff is really there. This is all just normal work, and I didn't really model any of that extra stuff. I modeled the high poly, I modeled the low poly, and then baked all my textures and stuff. So, let's see. So that's the chair. Now let's open up the. I'm gonna open that up just so I can show you guys my working file. Just so you guys can see how this stuff looks in here. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. So here is the final low poly for that bike. Here is the high poly. Control Q. So here's the high poly mesh, and everything is kind of modeled in. So like all the. So it's just it's the same process that I teach you guys: high poly, low poly, texture, and then you present this bad boy inside of whatever presentation software you want to use, whether it's Marmoset, whether it's Unreal. It doesn't matter, And I think those guys are trying to switch over a little bit to Unreal, so they wanted to see how it would look in Unreal. So but I didn't give them this. I gave them the low poly because that's what they requested. All right, and now let's open up the site. So you guys remember what they sent me, right? You guys remember the image of what they sent me. I'll in that the prop is just, the same way I would build any of the stuff that we're building for the Mario project. Nothing changed, nothing different there. So here is the final site. Here's the final site. And what I ended up doing was, I already have Google Earth Pro. I took the information they gave me, took it into Google Earth Pro, and I just use that. I use that as my references. I took a bunch of images, put it on a PureRef board, the same way I would tell you guys to use your reference. Right? Those are the things I'm doing. The same things that I'm teaching you guys how to do are the same things I do professionally to kind of finish these projects. And some of those finishing aspects are like my naming convention. Right? I'm making sure that everything has a name, not just the models, but the materials themselves, because with the software that they particularly use, naming is important in general. Like naming is super important, but the reason it was especially important on this project was because the software they use, if you hover over a model, like if you just like mouse cursor over it, it pulls up the texture name, not the object name, the texture name. And you can probably change that, but by default, I think that's what it is. And I was not gonna have my project be like material 603 or material 225, right? I wanted to give it a name so that, road or concrete or parking lot texture or, whatever it is, you need to make it as simple as possible. Make it easy for them to understand, so they're not like, oh, what's material node 1000? On their end, you're trying to make it as simple for them as possible. And the more problems you guys help these people solve and help people solve with their rendering pipeline or their modeling pipeline, the more money you guys are going to make, because you're going to be faster, they're going to be faster, and you guys are just going to have kind of a better synergy as you guys work towards whatever the project deadline is or project goal is. So I made sure that everything had its own name, had its own thing. The sidewalks had names, the light poles, the light posts, the wires, and you just kind of go that extra little mile, right? You just kind of, and in their software, I learned, during the test, I learned whatever software they used, and I kind of did a little test in it myself. So I imported everything that I had into whatever program they're going to be using, and that's just so that I know what they're going to see whenever they import my stuff, right? Keep that in mind. Think about, okay, if they're saying I'm going to use this program to view it, if you can get a free trial for like 10 days while you're trying to do your test, while you're trying to do whatever it is you're trying to do, get it. Learn what you can about the program. Learn what you can about the software, because that's going to help you out in the long run. That's going to, definitely like, oh, okay, I know this. In the time you gave me, I was able to learn this, and it'll give you just that little step, that's that little edge that's going to make that project just better, right? So watching a bunch of videos, I learned that if you name anything glass in whatever 3D package you're using, no matter what, like if you're in Blender and you name something glass, whenever you bring it into Lumion, it turns it into like a simple shader of glass. Like it just automatically assigns it. Like, so it finds anything with the word glass in it and assigns a shader, which is good and bad, because, what if I mean like tempered glass or something? It's not name specific, it just assigns glass to it. So, it's cool, right, if that's what you want, but you have to make sure you know little things like this, and, studying and trying to learn as much as you can. And that's why I always kind of give you guys that, be thirsty for knowledge, kind of want to know what the software is about. If they say this is the thing I'm using, go learn about it. Go find out what, how it works. Go push some buttons, mess some stuff up. It's okay. So, that's pretty much, it. And I turn the FBX in, and they have everything now, and, it's a back and forth. And this is pretty much how I would approach the test. And then they asked for the deliverables. They sent me a link. I put the deliverables in there by the time, and then we communicate, and you get the job, and you get the money, and you get the house, and then living la vida loca, yeah, that's pretty much it on that part. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys a rundown of what you guys can expect if you guys are going to take an art test, what you guys are going to expect, and this is a real world example. This is an art test I took not too long ago, and this is something I turned in. This is something that you guys can take and go and watch and come back to and go, okay, this is how he was doing it. This is what he was doing. This is what the approach was. And you guys can ask me any questions you want if you have an art test. How to approach it, or and what to do. Another important thing is communication, because you're technically a freelancer, or you're technically a contractor. I always like to kind of consider yourself. Tell my students, consider yourself a business. Consider yourself an entity, because you have to start treating yourself like that, because it will start breeding that mentality of, okay, I need to get my papers right. I need to get my contracts right. I need to get my documents right. Because they're treating their work like a company, you should treat yourself that way, so that you will have the best outcome, and you're not so invested in it personally that you can't see the business side of it. And that's a lot of what I see the writings on the wall for some students who get too personal with their work, and who think that if somebody says they don't like your work, they're attacking you as a person or something. It's not like that. It's just a professional working environment, right? Like if somebody said, hey, I need you to move these windows back, I'm not going to be like, well, those windows look perfect, and get defensive. I don't care about these windows. You need the windows moved back. Push back the windows so we can get the project moving, right? And a lot of students are like, oh, you don't like the placement of my windows? Oh my, no, right? I say that to say communication is important. I ask my client, hey, how do you want me to communicate? How do you want me to talk to you about the project? Do you want me to inform you every day? Whenever, at the end of the day, say, hey, this is where I am, this is where I need, and keep it like that? Or are you one of those hands off until the final? I personally would never ever go that hands off, don't report in with whoever the client is until the last moment. I personally would never do that, because you don't know. What if the client has changes day of? What if the client's like, ooh, that's the wrong one. They updated this building, or they moved that site, or they moved, and now you don't know that till the project's due. Well, you're up a creek with no paddle, right? It's important for you to communicate. It's important for you to let your client know, this is how I communicate, or how do you like to communicate? Are you an email person, right? Are you a call person? Are you a text person? Are you available at 9? Are you available at 1? When do you read your emails? When can I communicate? How often do I want to communicate with you? Things like this are the things you guys need to start understanding and knowing that you need to communicate them, right? Ask them how they want their stuff, because it'll save you a lot of money in the long run. It'll save them a lot of heartache in the long run. It'll save you a lot of heartache as well in the long run, if you know this. So yeah, communicate. So, I kept asking, I was like, hey, how do you guys want this? Or where do you guys want this? Or, how often do you guys want me to report in? Things like that make the client feel more comfortable. They know you're doing something. They know you're not just sitting at home watching Netflix or playing video games. They know that you're actually working, right? And that's part of the reason why in class I have you post stuff constantly and talk to each other, so you guys communicate, right? I talk about that communication very often in this class. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this. This week you've got another drawing. The drawing will be up after class. I'm probably not going to do the drawing with you. I don't think I have the time. I got 20 minutes, but I will